Hey folks, I'm going to be hosting a Dead by Daylight charity stream very soon, and I'll give you more details about that at the end of the video. Well, what a wonderful thick and fog day to you, Survivor already at a pallet ready to drop. My name is Bricky, and welcome to Dead by Daylight Casefile featuring the Nightmare Freddy Krueger, or best known as the Sweater Boy. Frederick Charles Krueger is another of the major licensed killers of Dead by Daylight, spawned from the popular horror film Nightmare on Elm Street. The original storyline is rather simple. Freddy was a suspected pedophile. The parents of the kids they thought he molested decided to burn him alive and kill him. So now Freddy haunts the dreams of the kids and kills them in their sleep. This is a very basic shortened version, of course, and Nightmare on Elm Street has seen a remake recently, so it depends on which adaptation you want to go with. However, it would appear that this Freddy is based more on the 2010 remake rather than the original film, specifically because of certain aesthetics and add-on choices. But either way, now he arrives in Dead by Daylight to haunt the dreams of survivors specifically. So Freddy's power is Dream Demon. Survivors have two states, awake and asleep. Those who are awake cannot see or hear Freddy whatsoever, and Freddy cannot harm them in any way. He even just clips through them as if they weren't even there. He may be directly on top of you and you will not be able to see him. However, his terror radius is replaced by the Freddy Lullaby song we all know and love. By holding your alt mouse button or whatever your secondary fire is, you have a medium range power that when you hit survivors with it, they will begin to fall asleep, indicated by their head being all craned and broken looking. This is the dream transition phase and will allow them to see Freddy kind of blinking back and forth from reality. Once the state has ended, the survivor is in the dream world, visualized by an ashy looking surrounding. In this state, you can now be harmed by Freddy and also have massively reduced action speeds. Freddy can also see your aura when you are outside of his terror radius, and which survivors are asleep or not is indicated by a little cloud icon around their name. To exit the dream world, waking survivors must go to the asleep ones and perform the wake up action. A survivor can also wake themselves up by failing any kind of skill check, and they will also be woken up when they are hooked. And after that huge mouthful, that is Freddy's power. So how do you play the Sweater Boy? Well, I chose Freddy as the final killer to make a case file about for one main reason: the hope, the possibility, the damn miracle that he could receive some buffs in the long time since his release. Fortunately, he didn't. But I sure as shit aren't gonna wait until he does to talk about him. So Freddy is generally considered the worst killer in Dead by Daylight. He is, however, very effective at low-ranking survivors, but when it comes to the higher ranks, he is definitely the one that struggles the most. This is due to many factors. The first, and most obvious, his power does not help him with a chase. Therefore, he deals with the same pallet and window shenanigans that 80% of all killers have to deal with. Number two, the time frame of his power. Characters like the Wraith and the Pig can use their sneaking potential to help get cheeky early hits off sometimes, but Freddy has a huge window where he can't do anything and gives survivors way more time to get to a pallet. Thirdly, he can't camp. Camping, naturally, is bad, but it works very well if survivors are feeling altruistic. Unlike the Wraith or the Hag, Freddy can't punish altruism. So if they make a bunch of mistakes like bum rushing the hook, he can't capitalize on that, or at least not as well. When they are unhooked, he has to sleep them once again before he can even do anything, and it makes it very difficult. And finally, look at him. He's a manlet. Look how small he is. Herman Carter is just a doctor, but he is a swole as fuck boy, and Freddy is tipping fedoras when survivors are teabagging him at the exit gates. Absolutely disgraceful. But with the realization that you're gonna have to deal with all these issues, here is how to play him regardless to the best of your abilities. Freddy has two things that really help him. The first being his stealth. Being constantly invisible makes flashlight saves very difficult and makes survivors trying to hide from him nearly impossible. You don't know which way he's coming, so he will almost always find you, sleep you, and start the chase. And awake survivors can't really do anything about that. The second thing is that sleeping multiple survivors is a very strong strategy. See, awake survivors can wake up other survivors very easily, but if all four of them are asleep, they need to wait for a skill check. And that could take a very long time, and failing the skill check in general, of course, is a very problematic thing for them. Freddy, just by existing, helps slow down the game, whether it be by action speed decreasing or by forcing survivors to fail skill checks. Freddy games are long. But normally long is good for killers, but with someone like Freddy and his poor attributes, it just doesn't work very well. See, Freddy is best played like this. Get everyone in Dream Stage as often as you possibly can. Then keep them in it the best you can. If you hook someone, leave them. You can't camp them, or at least you can't do it very well. So constantly going back and forth is generally better. Then you can keep putting those you can in dreams, keep hooking, and hopefully by wasting enough time, you can slow the game down to a point where most of the pals are destroyed and you can start steamrolling. That's the best possible way to play Freddy at the moment. It works actually very well at low ranks, but not so great at high ranks. That's just playing killer in general. See, Freddy is a meme about being one of the worst killers in the game, and don't get me wrong, he is very, very poor, but he's definitely not as bad as some people say he is, depending on the survivors you fight. If you're fighting rank 1 hardcore, bloody Claudette, flashlights, toolboxes, all that crap, yeah, you are probably going to be the worst killer. If you're fighting a bunch of new people, you are probably going to be one of the best killers. It's a huge disconnect between 20 and 1, so you kind of gotta deal with that when you're starting the game. If anything, play Freddy when the rank resets. That'll make it a little easier. So discussing Sweater Boy add-ons, there are a couple that work out well. Power range and power movement speed are generally uninteresting, so I'd leave those be. Reducing dream transition time is strong, so all the block add-ons work very well. The second would be dream action speed and skill check reduction. Reducing action speed even more so is useful just for the simple power it gives, and reducing skill checks is very strong if you stack them, so it takes them just so much longer to wake up. One thing I will say, normally the purple and red gimmick add-ons aren't very good, but for Freddy, they are actually pretty fun. Class Photo is actually very broken and incredibly strong. If Freddy was a better killer, that would be insane. So take that if you can. Pill Bottle is also amazing for screwing with survivors to a spooky extent, and the black box is great if you're running Dying Light or a Mori. For Sweater Boy Teachables, we have Discount Brutal Strength, You Will Leave When I Allow It, and a really rusty gate lever. Fire Up could be a really good perk, but it isn't. If they buff the numbers, it could be great, but it isn't. Please buff the numbers. Blood Warden is an awesome idea, but is so situational. It comes into play very rarely, but when it does, and you mix that with something like NOED, it can be crazy good. Me personally, I like to try to win the game before the gates are even open, so kinda is one of those things that I don't like taking due to how situational it is, but when it works, it is amazing. Remember Me is alright. It's not bad, it's not top tier. And let's be real, we only really use top tier perks, but similar to Blood Warden, little situational, I like to have the game done before the gates are open, or even the generators are done. For Freddy builds, this is one of the few parts about Freddy I actually really like. His build paths and his perk builds are very fun to mix and match since he has so many good options. When it comes to the list of good perks for Freddy, there are a lot of them. I mean, for starters, Hex Ruin and Barbecue and Chili are good because, I mean, man oh man, of course they're good. Huntress's Lullaby is very strong on Freddy because survivors actively try to fail skill checks and this punishes them even more. Knockout is very strong because if you want to run a solid slugging build, it can be incredibly powerful and keep people down there for a while. And as long as they're asleep, you have built-in Deerstalker when you're out of the terror radius. Brutal Strength is very good because it's Pallet Town, you get rid of them, and of course, same thing with Enduring. But the two I want to really talk about are Dying Light and Make Your Choice. Freddy is bad at camping, but he's really good at tunneling. Dying Light combined with Freddy's innate slowdown will make the game, for lack of a better phrase, a fucking slog. Survivors will get nothing done, ever. 3 survivors with massive slowdowns, combined with an even more massive slowdown from your power, it's just a matter of time before you win the war of attrition. And finally, Make Your Choice might be the best perk specifically for Freddy. His natural want to leave hook survivors behind makes it proc very often, and his ability to get sneaky hits on survivors that can't hide from him allow you to get insta-down significantly more often than you'd expect. Honestly, Make Your Choice might make Freddy somewhat usable to a point. We'll just have to wait and see. For the Freddy meme build, I like the late game powerhouse Freddy. Bitter Murmur, Blood Warden, Remember Me, and NOED. You're the strongest when the gens are done. And finally, before I go, here's Freddy's Mori, teleports behind you. So let me try to wrap up Freddy the best that I can. Before he was nerfed, he shared a lot of similarities with the Doctor. Absolutely horrible to fight as a survivor with a lot of tools to remove stealth and slow the game down. However, at the time, he was still mid-tier because, like we always discuss, does his power help in the chase? If the answer is no, he isn't that great, and his answer was no. However, he was nerfed anyway because his kill rate at rank 20 was so high that he now suffers in his little meme hell that is the bottom tier. How would I buff him? I have no idea. I can pitch ideas on how to buff things like hexes and generators being done too fast, but how would I buff Freddy? Fuck if I know. He's in his own little spiral of despair at the moment, and even though he has certain perk combinations and playstyles that work for him really well, he's far away from being good. Anyway, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I am doing a charity stream to celebrate the final killer of the Dead by Daylight Casefile series. Of course, if they add more killers, I'll do some more case files. But for the moment, today, which is Sunday, February 11th, 2018, I will be doing a very long charity stream with all the donations going to different kinds of cancer research facilities. I will be donating my personal money for every kill, salty comment, survivor escape, and all those different kinds of things. The exact variables will be on the stream. And I will also give all donations given to me for the stream to the charity as well. So please come on over to twitch.tv/Bricky, and if you're watching this video after the charity stream, come on over anyway. Shoot your boy a follow. Like, you know, you can do it. Anyway, my name is Bricky, and it's cold outside. You better get my sweater. Bye-bye.